Now on Bounce, in light of the events in Ferguson, Missouri, we want to give you some valuable tools that you can apply when you deal with the men and women in blue who protect our neighborhoods. I want to welcome Attorney Ken Harris tonight to the show. You have experience in the courtroom with cases that involve officers in North Carolina. Some were in the wrong, but others were not.
Right.
First, the people of Ferguson are hurting. They want justice for what happened to Mike Brown. What would you say to them?
Well, you know, the first thing is to always wait for the facts. That is the issue in every case like this, and I've had the unfortunate experience of handling a lot of cases where we have victims of police interactions. So the key initially is to just wait and learn the facts. Once we gather all the facts, then we can make some determinations about various liabilities.
And I know that many people oftentimes feel targeted by police, especially when we're talking about young people of color. What should they do if they are stopped or questioned?
3 words. One, compliance. The other 2 words are get home. You know, the key is to, when you have that initial interaction with the officer, the place to litigate or argue your innocence is not on the side of a highway or in the middle of a street. You have to go ahead and comply with whatever the officer's commands are. Then you get home, then you have an opportunity to retain counsel and litigate whatever the issues are in a courtroom.
And I feel like some of the conversations that take place in homes, especially that are raising young black men, are different than in other households when it comes to dealing with police, because there is this feeling, this perception that young black men are treated differently by men and women in uniform.
Exactly. It's something that has developed over time. Historically, we've always had this belief that we're treated in a disparate way, but the reality of it is it's about your safety and about your family. And the key is to make sure that when you have that interaction that you do exactly what I said earlier. Do whatever is necessary to get home and then set the plate to work through our legal system to find justice.
Can you dispel some of the myths for us about what police can and cannot do when they are engaging someone?
Well, the thing that most people don't know is that an officer can do whatever is reasonable under the circumstances in their mind's eye. So they're taking a look at all of the circumstances, and our judicial system says that because they have to react in a split second to oftentimes life-threatening circumstances, they have the right to react in any way that is reasonable.
Which is why that compliance and not being combative, not being cagey, anything that they could view as being a threat to them is so important. And I have covered these police officer-involved shootings before in my years as a reporter, and that is one of the things that I recognized early on. The first case is that officers are held to that standard of what happened in that split second.
That's right, and it's a very difficult thing to comprehend if you're not a police officer. I've had so many cases where my initial thought was that the officer overreacted, but when you get in and you have an opportunity to look at the videotapes or the dash cam video, you see that they didn't have the ability to assess the situation. And our own Supreme Court has said we don't look at these situations in 20/20 hindsight. We look at them relative to what the officer is perceiving in those split seconds.
And now, if you would, just what is some common sense advice to help save someone's life if a parent or a young person is watching right now what they encounter with police the next time they encounter police?
Good example is the case I'm handling down in South Carolina. 2 actors, well-known actors, were stopped down in South Carolina. They were handcuffed. They were treated, allegedly treated roughly by the police, but they stayed calm. And they complied the whole time. They didn't get aggressive with the officers, and guess what? They made it home.
And that is so key. You cannot give that officer any reason to believe that his or her life is in imminent danger, because then the law is on their side.
That's right. That's
thank you, Ken Harris, for coming by tonight. We know you've covered a lot of these cases, just shedding some light on what's happening with the Michael Brown and Ferguson, Missouri, because I think people are running off of emotions and anger right now. And rightfully so, but still that can cloud a lot of the judgment and what we need to take from this moving forward.
And I think one thing is to remember it takes a long time to get the facts. In a case like this, typically it takes a year or so before we gather all the information necessary to make final judgments.
So still quite a ways to go.
Quite a ways.
Ken Harris, we thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Delano.